Simon, Jenny, and I analyzed stanzas 5 through 6 of John Keats' Ode to a Nightingale. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but an embalmed darkness guess each sweet, wherewith this seasonable month endows. The grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May's eldest child, the coming muskrose full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of fires, flies on summer eves. Darkling I listen, and for many a time I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names in many a mused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath. Now more than ever seems it rich to die, to seize upon the midnight with no pain, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such ecstasy. Still wouldst thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sod. This whole poem has a rhythm of iambic, and that continues throughout the whole poem, and there isn't a change in these two stanzas.
The meter of this poem is dimeter because it consists of two different feet, which are iambic pentameter and iambic trimeter. Iambic trimeter appears in the 8th line of both stanzas. On stanza 5, it is Anne Mid-May's eldest child. This personifies summer with its beautiful flowers. On stanza 6, it is in such ecstasy. This points out the good aspects of death.
Within both stanzas, the rhyme schemes are in pattern of A, B, A, B, C, D, E, C, D, E. And such repetitive rhyme scheme allows the poem to catch readers' attention better.
To paraphrase the meaning and message behind each stanza, the fifth stanza talks about how the narrator is resting on a thicket of grass that includes fruit trees and flowers and just different parts of nature. And the narrator talks about how peaceful it is, and because the mood and basic tone of this stanza is quite calm and relaxed. In the sixth stanza, the calm mood continues on, it flows through this, but then the meaning it kind of changes. So rather than just talk about the nature around him, the narrator talks about how he is half in love with easeful death. He looks at death in a favorable manner instead of looking at it with bitterness, which is an emotion that usually follows the word of death. And by calling it soft names in many amused rhyme, it makes the poem lighthearted and looks at death in a more lighter, happier view. The author kind of seems to embrace death, and since death isn't something that is considered with bitterness and disdain here, this is what kind of distinguishes this poem apart, because this is kind of separating and diverging from the usual implications that death has on people. And it says that by pouring forth thy soul, it makes the person feel ecstatic and makes them feel such ecstasy, which kind of alludes to the fact that the individuals are freed from their pains and sufferings when they put thy soul abroad and send it away with the wind. So when they die. So this poem continues to just explain in a calming manner by setting up a very calming mood in a grass full of flowers and trees and just beautiful nature because the narrator discusses death in such a calming, happy, quite relaxed setting. This kind of states that death is an escape. It isn't a sad end to somebody's life, and because the sixth stanza, it allows the narrator to explore the possibilities that death may bring, And because the whole poem kind of talks about an escape and how the narrator wants to fly away with the nightingale because the nightingale seems so at ease, this kind of explores the possibilities of death, and it kind of strengthens the narrator's need to escape the world by following the nightingale, which is basically through death. So it kind of views death in a quite light-hearted manner, and um, just emphasizes the fact that death may be an escape and may be actually quite a good favorable end and not a bitter one.
Within stanza 5 and 6, the diction is very connotative and formal. An example would be in line number 1 of stanza 5, "But embalmed darkness guess each sweet." The word embalmed would have a very connotative meaning. Also in line number 1 in stanza 6, "Darkling I listen, and for many a time." The word darkling also have a very connotative definition. Throughout both stanzas, a lot of the word uses are very formal. Both stanza 5 and 6 also include a lot of imagery, which includes visual, olfactory, and kinesthetic. An example would be on line number 2 of stanza 5, "Nor what soft incense hangs upon the bough," and line number 5 of stanza 5, "The grass, the thickets, and the fruit tree wild." Stanza 5 and 6 is written in a first person perspective, and within two stanzas, the perspective doesn't shift.
The paradox in this poem is the way Keats describes death as a beautiful and peaceful state, while other people view death in a fearful way. Keats describes it as if it would be a better place to be than the life he is living at the moment. The symbolism Keats uses are darkness, sod, and nightingale. Darkness stands for death because people who are dead wouldn't be able to see the world, and he uses this in his poem to imply that when he is embalmed in darkness, he wouldn't have to worry about the reality and nobody would be able to bother him, and he likes the darkness. Sod stands for grave. This is where Keats wants to be. Nightingale's home is darkness, and he praises this for the fact that they live in such a peaceful place, which is the darkness. The caesura for this poems is in line 43, 46, 49, 51, and 59. There are masculine endings. The end stops are in every line except 44 and 57. Enjambments are in line 46 43 to 45 and 57 to 58. For the punctuation, there are periods on both stanzas, on the last lines of both stanzas. This line gives the readers the main idea and summarizes the whole point. And on line 58, the exclamation point emphasizes the happiness Keats would find when he imagines death.